Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard Podcast with your hosts, Collin and Braeden Cox. And in this segment, we're going to be discussing who we think is going to make the MLB playoffs this late in the season as we stand on August 16th. So we got some hot takes coming your way. And let's get right into it. So I guess, Braeden, we can start with the AL. So tell me right now, as it stands, who is in the playoffs for the AL right now?
Sure. So our one seed is the Baltimore Orioles. Huge surprise. I'm not sure if anybody really saw that coming, but the Orioles come in at 1. The Texas Rangers 2, another big surprise. And then Minnesota at 3, Tampa Bay at 4, Houston at 5, and the Toronto Blue Jays at 6.
Right. So I think it's safe to say that those top 5 teams are more than likely going to get in, unless one of them completely chokes in the last month and a half here. So yeah. I think the O's right now. I have the O's as a definite. I have the Twins as a definite because they're I think they're leading the Central by 6 or 7 games.
It's 4 right now.
4.
It's 4, but they seem like they're just better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So and who's behind them? The Guardians.
The Guardians, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think I'm still gonna roll with the Twins, Rangers, Astros, Rays. Right. So those are 5 definites, and I think it's basically a coin toss between the Blue Jays and Mariners. Right now, the Blue Jays are leading the Mariners by 2.5 games for that last wild card spot as we record here on August 16th. So are you rolling with the Blue Jays, or do you think the Mariners are going to get hot? The Mariners are 7-3 in their last 10. Been looking pretty good past couple months. So give me your take. So do you agree, though, with those first 5 teams there? Or do you think they're going to sneak in?
Yeah, I definitely think, the Orioles, the Rays, the Twins, the Guardians could get hot, but, if the Guardians flip-flopped with the Twins, I wouldn't be shocked, but, whatever. I don't really see either of those teams as a threat, but I'll go with the Twins. I'm fine with the Twins, right?
Right.
Rangers, Astros will be there. So, yeah, to me, it definitely comes down to the Blue Jays and the Mariners.
Right.
And to be 100% honest with you, right, I think Toronto is the better team, but the AL East is better, right? So I don't know the exact schedules, but how many more times does Toronto have to play a team like Baltimore or Tampa? You know what I mean? Because that's huge. That is a huge factor. If Toronto has already played Baltimore and Tampa, they've played them all throughout the season already, and they're done playing them, or maybe they only see them each one time. Right. Then I could see Toronto, right? But if Toronto's got to go and play Baltimore and Tampa a couple more times, and including the rest of the AL East, because Boston really is no joke, and any of the AL East teams can give you a run for your money. So I think that really depends on the schedule. But just to switch things up, I am going to pick Seattle because they're hot.
Okay.
And I think, not having the schedule up right now, and I could pull it up, I feel like if they got to go through, they're going to get freebies. They're going to play Oakland. They're probably going to play the Angels. They're better than the Angels now.
They do have to play. They probably would have to play the Rangers and the Astros a couple more times, too. You got to think of it that way.
This is true. But I would... Yeah, no, that is a good point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
Just it's kind of parallel to your point with the Blue Jays having played the Rays and
let me actually just real quick.
It's kind of the same, yeah.
Because we're talking about this is very little at this point.
So you're going.
Yeah, they got to play Houston 2 more times, and they got to play the Rangers 2 more times. But then they got freebies in there. They got Kansas City. They got Oakland twice.
Okay.
And then, just looking at the Blue Jays real quick, the Blue Jays got to go through Baltimore once. They got to go through Texas. They have to go through Tampa Bay twice. Tampa Bay twice. And teams that are fighting for the playoffs, they got to go through Cleveland. And then they got the Red Sox and Yankees twice. So, based off schedule, I would pick Seattle, right? But Toronto, I think, is the better team.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
That's a point. I'm also rolling with the Mariners. I thought about before we started. I don't think the Red Sox or Yankees have much of a chance anymore. No. Definitely not the Angels. I don't think they've been really cold since the trade deadline. Same thing with the Yankees. But yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Mariners. I don't know if it's because the rivalry and the AL East bias, or I don't know. I just think the Mariners really hot, really good team, and they'll be a fun team in the postseason, even if they are a first round exit again. It's just definitely interesting to see. So you're going Orioles, Twins, Rangers. So the Rangers would probably be the 2 seed.
Yeah, I
Twins
would
be the
say
3 seed.
either it's definitely going to be Baltimore and Texas that are going to be the 1-2, right? That could
Right.
flip flop too, just depending who gets hot.
Right.
But then
Okay, fair.
Twins, Tampa, Houston, Seattle, in any order.
Yeah. All right. I agree.
Cool.
All right. So let's get over to the NL now. I think this one's going to be a little more diverse between Brady and I. Like the AL is a little more structured. NL, you have your Braves and your Dodgers who are definites, but other than that, it's still up for grabs.
It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot.
Spots.
Anybody can get hot for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is going to be a little more fun segment. We'll have a little more different teams who we think are going to make the playoffs in the NL.
Yeah.
So I think Braeden, you could agree with me. Braves, Dodgers got it on lock, right?
Yeah. So right now it's the Braves at 1 and the Dodgers at 2. The Braves got 77 wins. They look, and I saw a tweet that they look like the 2017 Astros, who were like literally using like technology to to benefit or to enhance their skill set. Like they look like that. Like they across the board, pitching, defensively, batting, they look like unstoppable. I don't know right now how you could pick really anybody else. If you want to make a case for the Dodgers, sure, but right now, I think the Braves got to be your NL pick. So, yeah, so the Braves are 1, the Dodgers are 2, and then you got the Milwaukee Brewers at 3.
Right.
The Philadelphia Phillies at 4, the San Francisco Giants at 5, and the Miami Marlins at 6.
All right, so let me ask you this, Braeden. Is it going to stay that way for the playoffs, or do you think there's going to be some mix-up in there?
So, I'm definitely going to roll with Braves 1 and Dodgers 2. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I had the same thing. Braves and Dodgers, like I said, pretty much locks. I think the Dodgers are up like 9 games in the West now, and the Braves are also up like 8 games, I think.
Yeah. So now is where it gets interesting because those 1-2s are, as of right now, they're pretty definite, right? But then you got to talk about the Central, right? And Collin has been on the Cubs, and I've kind of been on like I'd like to see the Reds do it, right? But what kind of throws a wrench in that is like a few weeks ago when we talked about the Cubs and the Reds, the NL East wasn't as hot. Like they didn't look as good. But all of a sudden, Philadelphia looks really good. Right. And the Marlins have been playing good ball. Right? The Phillies have been playing slightly better. I would say they have the edge over the Marlins.
Trey Turner has been playing better.
It makes that discussion as far as the Cubs and the Reds a little bit harder. Because now you've got teams in the NL East, which seems to happen every year, where like the Braves look fantastic, and then the Phillies and the Marlins, not really the Marlins, I guess you could say, but in past years it's been the Mets, where they kind of hover and they're never really out of it, but they don't really feel like contenders, and then all of a sudden it gets to within 60 games of the playoffs, and all of a sudden they look really good. Mm-hmm. So in the Central, the Cubs and Reds are both 3.5 out. Honestly, I could see any 3 of those teams winning the Central because it's, right now I'd probably pick the Brewers.
I think the Cubs are in second place, 3.5 out of the Brewers. That is going to hard come back from, but if you look at the Cubs schedule, it's pretty light along the rest of the way. I know they just lost last night to the White Sox. But they won a series against the Braves this past weekend. They won a series against the Blue Jays. So yeah, I think, and they've been looking pretty good. I know they're 5-5 in their last 10 now, I think, but I think they've been winning series. They had a couple little lumps past couple games.
Their next 3 opponents, 3 against Kansas City, 3 against Detroit, and 4 against Pittsburgh. Like if they go and win
those series,
if you go and of those 10 games, if you go 8-2, which they could do. Because you're talking about teams that really aren't that impressive. And
they're also, their Cubs are playing for something. These other teams really aren't now.
That's true. And then, the Reds got some, tougher games coming up. But, they get to see Detroit. They see Pittsburgh just like, the Cubs will, just different points in the season. So, honestly, that's your toss-up, but I'm going to pick, I was holding true to the Cincinnati Reds because I thought it was a really cool story. But I think the Brewers might just be a better team. They're just not as, flashy. To me, they're kind of like the Twins. The whole Central is just kind of I don't think there's really much to say about the AL or NL Central. The Reds are a cool story. The Cubs are a cool story. But other than that, there's nothing really too, that much fun going on.
The only thing is, but that's what makes it fun, though, is the fact that it's such
of course.
a toss-up between, because I think the Cubs are a half a game ahead of Cincy, just one more win in the win column than them.
Yeah.
So you still have, those top three teams in the Central. It's still a toss-up for any of them, I think.
It's a matter of who gets hot.
Me. So right now, the playoff picture for the NL is Braves, Dodgers, Brewers, Phillies with the first wild card.
San Francisco.
Giants with the second wild card, and then Miami with the third. The Giants are 3-7 in the last 10. They have cooled down a little bit.
Yes.
So here's my hot take out of this whole thing. I think if there's going to be one change, I think the Giants are gonna fall apart these last few months here, and I think it's either going to be my Cubbies, who I predicted in April. I mean, little biased because I already picked them, so I'm going to keep picking on mine as well, right?
Hey man, prove me wrong.
No one thought they'd even be here at this point, right? No one thought they'd even be in contention, right? But here they are, still around. Easy schedule, like you just said, coming up. Pretty hot since the All-Star break, or not All-Star break, trade deadline. Sorry, and then you still have your Cincy, still have the D-backs a little bit, but I think there's going to be one mix-up. I do think the Brewers are going to end up winning that Central.
Yeah.
But, so obviously, in order for the Cubs to sneak in, they have to either pass Miami, who's red hot, or pass the Giants, who's not as so hot. So I think, this is my hot take, I think it's going to be the Giants slipping out, Miami. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami passed Philly at this point, because Miami's really hot. So my hot take is Miami for the first wild card, Phillies for the second, then Cubs sneak in there for the third wild card spot over the Giants last.
So essentially what you're saying is we're switching the Cubs for the Giants and re-racking the wild card team, because you're saying the Marlins 1 and Philly 2nd and then the Cubs 3rd.
Right.
I don't hate that. A huge kind of letdown for me this year was. And it wasn't a letdown because I expected them to be tremendous, but the Diamondbacks were killing it to begin the season.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. They're still over 500, but barely.
It's because they play in the West. That's what it is. Dodgers had a little bit of a slow start, but you knew it wasn't going to last long, right? And so everyone's like, "Oh, Diamondbacks are in first." When they're playing 500 ball, was over the Dodgers, and then Dodgers turned into the Dodgers that we all know, and then this took that division right up and ran away with it.
Yeah, I like I like what you did there with your team. So I'm gonna say definitely Braves 1, Dodgers 2. I'm gonna go with Milwaukee 3, but
I do think Milwaukee's gonna run away with that Central.
To me, and I'm not hopping on your Cubs bandwagon, right? Because I'll let you have that on me. You said the Cubs at the beginning of the year. I kind of thought that was crazy talk. But here they are. They're 3 games over 500. It could really come down to, the final week in that. Yeah, because,
definitely.
All it takes is the Cubs getting hot, and they've been playing good ball. The Brewers are 6-4 in the last 10. The Cubs are 5-5. You know what I mean? I would say it's probably between those two teams. So I mean, I'm going to take the Brewers at 3.
It's going to come down to, like it always does, it's going to come down to who gets hot in September, and then who kind of more or less, for lack of a better term, chokes in September, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll be a really fun NL race. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so unfortunately, what my when we first talked about doing this episode, like I had my this would be a fun team to get hot. I was gonna say the Padres, but they've been playing not great lately, so
they got hot. They got hot for a little bit and they cooled off.
Yeah, if we would have done this episode like 2 weeks ago or like a week ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, I would have.
Like I probably would have had the Padres at like
Padres
the 6.
too. Yeah, I have them
I
down
probably would
here.
have had the Padres at the 6. But I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take Philadelphia as the first wild card.
Okay, fair.
I'm going to take the Miami Marlins as the second wild card.
Okay.
And I'll take... I mean, they haven't been playing well recently. Let me look at their schedule just real quick. Sorry, let me see what they got here.
You're going Cincy, aren't you? You're riding Ellie De La Cruz. I think you mentioned that in the last episode.
Yeah, like
said,
I like it,
electric.
but I haven't seen enough out of the whole team. You know what I mean? Like
right.
he was like
no,
flashy
yeah, they're
to the
streaky.
game.
They're streaky.
It was a really cool story for like the first month, and it's still a cool story. It's still a good moment for baseball, but like I don't know if as a team they're there.
I do think they gassed up De La Cruz a little bit. I mean, he didn't even have a great start. He was just running all over the place, and people thought it was the most amazing thing ever. But
yeah, see, here's the thing: is I want to take San Francisco at 6. The problem is their next 4 series at Atlanta this weekend, at Philadelphia next week, home against the Braves, and then home against Cincinnati. So they've got
that's tough.
The Braves twice in a week.
That's tough.
And then they got Philadelphia and Cincinnati who are playing for something.
Wow.
So it's really hard for me to pick San Francisco because their next 12 games, if they could easily get swept twice by the Braves.
Right. It could be over before they even blink
So I'm not going to pick San Francisco. I am going to pick the Cincinnati Reds because I'm going to hold true to that. I said that a few months ago. You had the Cubs. I kind of had the Reds. I'll probably regret that. But you know, looking at the rest of the NL, like I'm not going to pick the Mets, the Nationals, Pirates, Cardinals, no way. And then Diamondbacks, I have no faith in. Padres and Rockies, I have no faith in. So really, it comes down to picking either the Giants, Cubs, or Reds. And the Giants have a tough schedule coming up. You pick the Cubs, so I'm going to pick the Reds.
Right, I like that. So just give me your 1 through 6 for the NL that you predict, just so I could at the end, if I decide to get creative and make a graphic of it. I think I know what it is, but just
so I got in the NL. I've got the Braves 1. I've got the Dodgers 2. I got the Brewers 3. Right. And then I got the Phillies as the first wild card, the Marlins as the second wild card, and then the Cincinnati Reds as the final wild card spot.
Cool. Yeah, so for me, 1 Braves like you, 2 Dodgers, 3 Brewers. So I have those 3 as division winners. But just a little switch up in the wild card spots there. I think Miami looks really good. I don't know if it's because they just beat our Yankees or what, but I think I'm going to get them. I think they're going to end up being the first wild card. Little hot take. I think they're only a couple of games behind the Phillies right now. I think 2.5, right? 2.5
they are 2.5, yeah.
And then, so I'm just gonna switch. Same thing as you. I'm just gonna switch Miami and Philly. I think Miami's gonna get that first wild card spot, and then Philly's gonna get the second wild card spot for the 5 seed. And then, like I said before, my Cubbies, who are playing hot ball, got an easier schedule coming up. I think they're gonna sneak into the playoffs in 2023, and they're gonna be last year's Phillies team. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the only thing. Oh, that's gonna be the Cubs. You think?
I don't know. I think
what's the farthest? How about
this?
What is the farthest you realistically see a team like your Cubbies? Because that's your big surprise here. We'd say right. Your first 5 are kind of like, yeah, the Marlins are playing well, the Phillies are playing well, but you're picking the Cubs. How far do you realistically see the Chicago Cubs going in the NL playoffs if they make it? If they're like
I said back in April, Braeden, they're going to make it to the World Series. It's the playoffs, dude. Anything could happen. You saw what happened to the Phillies last year. The Padres choked. The Cardinals had the biggest wild card choke of all time.
So you're kind of predicting right now.
I'm not predicting right now. Like I just have to roll with what I said earlier.
No, I'm not saying this is a new take, but you would agree with me saying Cubs versus Atlanta NLCS.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't know if that's possible though. because the Cubs would be the 6 seed and the Braves would be the 1 seed. So I don't know.
Sure, right? But we're saying the best team in the NL is the Braves, and you think that the Cubs could potentially
They get
there.
hot.
So,
I'm not saying they're the best team. I don't think the Phillies were the best team last year, but they got hot at the right time, right? Same
That's fair.
concepts.
that,
I think we only have like 6 more minutes on
yeah.
the Zoom call.
So the last point I'll make real quick, right? The only
Yeah.
concern that I have with a team like the Miami Marlins, like, yes, they're playing hot. They just ran through the Yankees. Well, they took 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, right? They have the Dodgers coming up this weekend. They're on a little West Coast swing. They got the Dodgers and the Padres, who the Padres are not an easy out. Like, you know what I mean? They're not gonna
yeah.
you know what I mean? So
They
who
won
knows?
yesterday.
Yeah, you don't really know with San Diego. They're a team that can just they can throw 10 on you, or they could be terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I
They're
mean?
so
You don't really
streaky.
know.
They just had such a bad start, like horrible start, and then they just could never dig out of that hole there.
Yeah. So they got the Dodgers, and then they got the Padres, and then they have Tampa Bay coming up. They got the Dodgers again, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Milwaukee twice. That's the thing that concerns me is down the stretch, they play a lot of teams that might be playing for something. You know what I mean? Like, their last 2 series are against the Mets and the Pirates, who those might be gimmies. But I don't know. Like, that's the only thing that would worry me about a team like the Marlins. And the Phillies have more experience. They've been in the big moment. So I would trust the Phillies more than the Marlins, regardless of who they're playing.
Fair. I like that.
Cool.
One more quick question before we hop off here. Are you buying into the Phillies hot streak here? I don't know if it's just because we're Philly-based, kind of, especially you, where you are. But I'm seeing a lot of Phillies hype now. Now, all of a sudden, everyone, don't let the Phillies get hot. Phillies are going to roll into the playoffs. Trey Turner's back. Bryce is heating up. Castellanos is heating up. Are you buying into it?
You know what I mean? Here's the thing is, I don't want to bite those words because last year they were in the World Series, right? So, like I just said, they have what it takes. They have the experience of kind of being the underdog, right? But everyone's talking, don't let the Phils get hot, right? So they played the Twins this weekend, lost 2 out of 3 at home, right? They lost to Toronto last night. They're playing Toronto right now. They played a 4-game set against Washington and took 3 out of 1. Whoop-de-doo. You know what I mean? And then the other series was the Kansas City Royals. They took 2 out of 3. So to me, it's like they're playing good ball as of late, but I would never pick them over the Atlanta Braves right now. Are you kidding? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the thing, is the Braves just look unstoppable, right? If it was kind of more wishy-washy with those 3 teams, I could see the argument, but the don't let the Phils get hot thing, sure, they could. They could be, they beat Atlanta in the playoffs last year, and it could very well happen again, but I just wouldn't personally. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just saying, look how much better Atlanta is, top to bottom. It could happen, but
no. Yeah, I agree. And then one more question, just answer yes or no. Is there any chance that our Yankees make the playoffs in 2023? Yes or no? Is there a chance?
It's not over till it's over, Colin.
All right.
There's a reason why I'm wearing this, right? We got Atlanta tonight. Just looking at their upcoming schedule, right?
Are they losing yet? I think they're just started here.
I think it's probably, tied here. We got Boston, we got Washington, Detroit twice coming up, Pittsburgh, which I think we're going to go to that Pittsburgh series. If the Phils fans can say don't let the Phils get hot, why can't I say don't let the Yanks get hot?
Because the Phils are actually 8 games over 500 and lead the wild card spot.
Yeah, but look, let's listen. If we take one in Atlanta tonight, we got Boston this weekend. We got Boston and Washington back to back, right? We can go. We could sweep the Nationals. I'm not saying I would never pick the Yankees to make the playoffs, but I'm not going to lose hope just yet.
Yeah, I'll still be watching, being miserable after every night. So
yeah.
All right.
Maybe.
I think that about wraps it up. Right?
Yeah, good. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. So those are our playoff predictions. Not playoff predictions, but those are who we think is going to make the playoffs. And then probably might be our last baseball segment for a while. I know football season's right around the corner, so we'll probably start getting into that. I got to
It's Jordan Love season.
About all the moves. Braeden,
it's Jordan Love season. We got a lot of Jordan Love to talk about.
Hopefully my Bengals, do think my Bengals took a little bit of a step back, but hopefully they could make another run. Thank you everyone for listening. Check out our other content. We'll give you definitely once the playoffs start for baseball, we'll definitely give you
we'll be on that.
Definitely a playoff preview. So maybe you never know. Maybe Braeden and I will sneak into Camden Yards or Philly if there is a game played.
That would be fun atmosphere for sure.
It would be a fun atmosphere. We'd have to go in a disguise or something. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next time, and go Yankees and go Cubbies.
Go Yanks. Go Yanks.
Go Reds. Go Cubbies.